are back with another episode of What SHU Doing Season 3. The people have asked. Paul has spoken to Dr. Miller.
Yeah, there we go.
I am Aaron Burrell.
I'm Paul Guarino.
And we are your hosts of What SHU Doing. As we have always stated, we are only joined by illustrious guests.
Only illustrious.
Two-time Sacred Heart graduate, Tony Mattariello.
Nice pronunciation.
Nailed it.
Happy to be here, guys.
Tony, besides being the owner of the greatest mustache Sacred Heart has ever seen, what was your origin story and how did you end up here?
Oh, boy. All right. So how did I end up at Sacred Heart? So I'm from Staten Island, New York originally. And I guess, much like any other high school student, in the area, when it came time to, look at some colleges and decide what my life is going to be, I kind of searched around the area. I knew at that time I was always kind of interested in cameras, classic family video, stuff like that. My dad always has a camera. So I was always interested. And I knew, obviously, I just looked up, good communications programs in the area. I knew I wanted to write or kind of get into filmmaking or broadcasting. Nothing exactly specific yet, but Sacred Heart came up. I also at the time was really big into bowling. I bowled in high school, bowled my entire life actually. I bowled here as well. So I wanted to find a college that had a bowling team. And it's interesting because getting kind of, I guess, into a little bit of a bowling scene in college. I mean, most of those bigger schools are out west, Midwest, Kansas. Wichita State is one of them. Penn State's a good program too, but obviously wanted to be somewhere near Staten Island. So those are kind of two big things I was looking at in a college. And then it's actually kind of funny because I was almost the closest I could get to being committed to Hofstra, I was there. Because I went to Hofstra on Long Island, close to Staten Island, and they had a tremendous film program, it seemed. I went there, did the whole tour thing. They had a top-of-the-line facility at the time, much like Martiri here. And they had they did a Saturday Night Live on Thursday. They had Thursday Night Live. Oh, wow. So it seemed like a great program. Obviously, I was familiar with Long Island. So I was pretty pretty almost go. I bought the hoodie, Hofstra hoodie. My dad was hyped. But then I had to come. We still didn't tour Sacred Heart yet.
Okay.
So we did that, and then that's where I kind of saw the facilities here. Kind of was on the fence, a little bit. At the time, Martiri didn't exist, but I did meet with Dr. Miller, and that was the guy who kind of really sold me on the program, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because brand new building, state-of-the-art facilities, cameras, the whole spiel. You're right near the city, the internships. And then on top of that, I had a couple guys from high school I knew who were coming here. And actually, my cousin went here in the 90s.
Okay.
He bowled here. Obviously, back then, commuter school, way different. But he kind of pushed me over the edge a little bit, too, and then I ended up committing to Sacred Heart.
So you were on the bowling team here.
I was, yeah. And it was great because it was a club team. There's no D1 men's team here, so I kind of thought it'd be a great I can still bowl. I'll have fun. I can still kind of because of course my parents
I got a lot of questions.
Make sure you get your major. Make sure you're doing. This isn't going to be bowling your whole life. So make sure you pick something here. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for me.
That's awesome. Who's the better bowler, you or your cousin?
I mean, he's been out of the game for a while, so I think if we were to bowl right now, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I was pretty decent.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Two pins, Tony. I got it.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly.
That's awesome. I mean, obviously, our paths, overlapped a bit during our time here. Obviously, I've know that you were super involved in a lot of different things. Of the things that you were involved in, what parts have shaped where you are today? And we'll get into where you are today because it's always fun when we get to when interviewers interview other people who interview. It's like the old actors on actors series and all of that. But yeah, how did you you mentioned that you loved cameras and all of that. When you got on campus, there was no moments of maybe I'll try finance, maybe I'll try something else. It was always
honestly no, and it's funny you asked that too because I feel like of my immediate friends that I made here, no one was really into film or production. A ton of people were in the PT program, the EX program, or marketing or something like that. But it was just I don't know that biology, math, I was I want to leave that in high school. I don't want to have to go through that again. So I was definitely gung-ho. And it was, again, an interesting time because it's funny because Miller had told me that Martiri would be built by my spring semester freshman year. Didn't open up until spring semester my sophomore year, which is fine. It all worked out. We were in Melody Hall, right? The old studio and the old chapel over there. And honestly, I really liked it because it was very rugged. It was very bare bones. I had Golda immediately for like intro to media production, stuff like that. So that was a great intro for me. I forget the guy who was at the equipment room at that time. The Asian dude with the long hair, Steve Shaw. I forget.
Yeah.
But that guy was hilarious. It was always a great time, like walking in there trying to get a camera. He's like watching some obscure movies. Like
always like the most obscure movie you can ever
most
find.
obscure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just knew it just felt like to me at that point. I was like, this is where I should be. So yeah, I never really had a second thought for my major.
That's awesome.
That's so.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did I guess like what was your overall like SHU experience? I know you kind of just touched on it, but like just through the 4 years and then like choosing to come back to get your master's.
Yeah, so I guess whatever program they were running at the time, I was like pre-accepted for grad school or whatever. So I know I had that in my back pocket, but obviously you're a freshman, like I'm not thinking that far ahead yet, you know. But it was great. I got really lucky, honestly, because over the summer I got this email about joining club rugby. And obviously, I was going into college. I was like, never played rugby before, had some football experience. But I was like, hey, I'm going to college for new things. Let's give it a shot. Again, I had 2 roommates who I knew from high school, and I mentioned that to them. They're like, oh, let's all do it. So I had like a couple buddies to do it. So I had a little bit more, I guess, of a reason to go. Yeah. And then again, I mean, one of my best friends that I have now, I met on that first day of preseason rugby.
Wow.
It was easily, other than coming to Sacred Heart, it's probably the second best decision I've made. Because it was great. And it was definitely like, I mean, talk about just walking into something and having just no idea what's going on, you know? And it was an interesting time too for the team because they had just graduated, I think, about a dozen seniors.
Okay.
And our freshman class, as it's been every year, right here, that's the biggest freshman class, you know? So we had like a dozen freshmen that were coming to that to the program for rugby, and I think maybe 2 of them, not me obviously, had played before in high school.
Okay.
So it was like totally new to everyone, which again made me feel better about myself because I was like, we all don't know what's happening, sort of deal. But that was, obviously the first experience there was a week here before school started with 30 guys and stuff. So it was again immediately you're forming bonds with people because it was practice 2 a days. I think we had some days I think we had some weight training in the morning, but you spend the whole day, lunch, dinner, all with these guys. You get to know people, get close to them really quick. And again, that just made like once school started, I like already had a good group of guys that I was like hanging out with. Everyone was super friendly. So yeah, that was kind of like my first overall, I guess, my first look at college, living in Seton in a forced triple. Yeah, dude.
Seton was the hall to be in though.
Yeah, it was. First floor Seton, I was like so stoked,
you got
dude.
to see everybody.
Yeah, everybody. And our RA was Joe Barry.
Okay.
Yeah, who was like a godsend because he was super chill, like very like understanding of our situation. We knew what he was trying to do, and we just all kind of worked together on our floor, which was awesome.
Those Seton Hall memories. I met Paul in Seton Hall.
Oh, nice, dude.
Still here.
Were you both dorm at Seton Hall?
I was on the 6th floor. Seton.
I was on the first floor too. So that's,
nice.
You said that because then you see everybody.
First floor. Yeah, we were right in front of the elevator too. So like, you can imagine at nights on the weekends, there's people stumbling. And you're like, oh my god, dude. A couple floods in the morning too on the first floor. Had to deal with that, but I wouldn't trade any of that. It was awesome.
For sure. We were on the 6th floor and right outside of the elevator. Paul used to just like I used to come home from class sometimes and it'd all just be in our dorm.
They usually leave their door open. I just
we left our door open.
That's the best. Yeah, exactly.
Left an ironing board in it. People sometimes I come back and I would just see people just hanging out in our room. I'm like, so good times at Seton Hall. But,
for sure.
But obviously, so you get into Sacred Heart, and I know you were very involved in like a lot of different things on campus when it came to media. Can you take us through some of your experiences? I know you did the Pulse.
So I have done it was interesting because again, I mean, you go in your freshman year, priorities change constantly. Obviously you have your social life, you have some extracurriculars, you have class, stuff like that. I didn't commit to my major until I started my junior year, actually. And then at that point, I kind of realized like, oh man, haven't done much here, So I kind of like my senior year really kind of hightailed it in terms of what I was getting into. So obviously I had some experience. Al Castro I knew, and I had never taken the Pulse class before, but he knew my work, he knew what I could do, so I was able to work on the Pulse. I started TDing for him, and then I took TV studio production my junior year, and that really kind of started to like really help me hone in on what I wanted to do and what I could get good at. It was Professor Gary Russo. He was a professor at the time. I don't think he's here anymore, but he was great. For whatever reason, I guess what he saw in me, he wanted me to direct, like all the studio shows that we were doing during class. And I did start doing that. And obviously, 40 years as a professional director. He worked for Animal Planet, Live PD, Cops, stuff like that. So he had a lot of studio experience. So again, I kind of utilized him a lot. I kind of soaked up anything he would tell me. I got a lot of reps at directing, at TDing, two things that fallen in love with. Like I'm really interested in doing that. So that was huge. And then they had a show my senior year. I think the summer going into my senior year, I got an internship at News 12. That was huge. News 12 was sick. Yeah. They're in Norwalk. Again, like it kind of reminded me, honestly, of being in like The Office, to be honest. Like the way the vibe of the bullpen there, with all the producers and stuff. I mean, it was like my first look into like what real life like news and production was about, high paced. I don't really care about your feelings necessarily. We have a lot of stuff to do today and it has to get done. There's live television happening today with stories that are happening right now, and then, my first day I was like put with one of the executive producers, it was me and him in the car. He just kind of drove me around. We had the camera set up. It was like, here, just set up these shots. He was like, take what you think would be good B-roll, of the Fairfield Police Department building for a story, So I did that. He was teaching me a lot. And I remember one of the first things he said to me when I was first there was like some story of like a car accident that just broke and it was like a baby involved. All right. And he was like, man, like baby involved in the news story. That's great news. We got to get in the truck right now. Let's go there. Like it was just, it was like that type of mentality, and I was like, this is hilarious. This is awesome. It was great people. So again, it just kind of still furthered my interest, into this world that is media production. Right. So, and then going to my senior year, they started CT Sports Now here. I don't know if you guys remember that show.
We used to be on it.
Exactly. We used to do the on-air stuff. So like Noah Finns, Mark Robbins, awesome guys. Like again, another look for me to be like, these guys are just consummate pros. I mean, these are guys who don't use a teleprompter. Obviously the experience, News 8, ESPN Radio, whatever. But just seeing them on a nightly basis, just kind of riffing on Connecticut high school and college sports and being really good and exciting and making me as a viewer like wanting to watch it. Like these guys, this is great. So again, that was another day, another internship where it was just every night I was in the studio TDing or directing or working audio. So I was like, like where else are you getting those reps, And I was living down here in Old Town Road. It was a stone's throw from the studio. It was tough because it was, like I said, Monday through Friday. It was, I think the crew call was at like 9, show was 10 to 10:30 or whatever it was. But it was great. I mean, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. Obviously you're talking, Thursday, Friday nights, people going out, and I'm headed to my internship sort of deal. So obviously I was able to go out afterwards, but still, the time commitment, but it was, again, I mean, those reps were just totally invaluable, that experience with those guys. And I actually ended up getting my first like freelance gig through Noah. Just one day in the studio, it was like, hey, whatever date, April 13th, I got this, and I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And I ended up being an A2 for a cyclocross championship at Hartford. Outrageous, like. It was like, again, maybe it was February because it was snow on the ground, and cyclocross. Obviously, I was like, "What the? What is cyclocross?" Apparently it's like a track. You're on a bicycle, and there's portions where you have to like get off your bike, put on your shoulder, run up a hill, and then get back on your bike, and then you're going through. Really intense. But it was crazy because again, I had to drive to Hartford. I was by myself, and I didn't know anyone who was going to be there. I was like totally new to me here. Never had been an A2 before. Obviously, worked audio in the studio, but I was like, I'm going to do my best, like what do you expect? And it was a 2-day shoot. There was a setup day and then the actual event. And again, I mean, I met some producers, directors. I worked closely with the A1 at the time. And again, it was another first look for me in terms of like being on a crew with a bunch of vets, and I'm the only guy who like doesn't really know what's going on, sort of deal. But everyone was super helpful to me, super understanding of my situation, knew I was a senior in college. They knew I didn't really know everything, but they're like trusted me to do enough. And I went and had a coil there for the first time, which was pretty wild. And it was funny because I obviously Al Castro, Russo always mentioned coiling the studio, but it was like one of those things like, coil this lob cable, like, do I really need to? And all of a sudden I'm working with like a 1,000-foot SMPTE, and I like, oh man, and I'm like blowing the coil, and people were getting pissed, and I'm just like, damn, dude. But again, you know, trial by fire for me. I think that's the best way to learn, and again, that just because everyone was so good to me, I guess, and obviously I'm already interested in the topic, it just kind of pulled me in even more. So that was huge. That internship was huge with CT Sports, and then I ended up freelancing for News 12 that year as well after the internship. And then at that point, that year, I think my senior year was the first year that Thorne took over the broadcast.
Okay.
Before that, you know, again, I'd worked Al Castro, Russo were the tandem for the football games.
Right.
So Thorne comes in, and it's like kind of like new slate sort of deal. Things are working differently. But I was lucky enough where he kind of recognized what I could do. First game I think we worked, I forget who they were playing, but it was like a monsoon game, dude. It was bad. It was camera 3 up on the high 20, I think. And again, senior, you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, I got a hoodie and jeans on, and it's like torrential downpour. And it's like also 40 degrees and windy. So it's like by the second half, I am like staying there shivering on my camera. But I must have done a good enough job because I think the next game, Thorne had me in the control room. I TD'd. And then that's when he started to get a name, or at least a face to my name. Started recognizing me. And like I said, that was senior year. So, you know, full year of really busting my hump to try and get like as much experience as possible. Not really sure what was going to happen with grad school at the time. I knew I was pre-accepted, so when it came to that spring semester, I was looking at the SEM program. I was thinking about FTMA as well, because I was into film as well. But again, that year I had so much experience with Thorne that I was like, I'd rather have this guy, you know, in grad school. So I knew I wanted to do SEM. I guess my next obstacle was like, how do I pay for this, you know? And and I was lucky enough where, again, senior year, I was just around this building so much, got very friendly with Kara Levine, who was the GA for SCM at the time, and Mario too. But then Kara's like, hey, you go to this program, you should apply because Mario was graduating. She was in the second year. They were looking for a new first year. So I applied. And then it was, I think, again, you know, a little bit different time, whereas I guess there wasn't as many mouths to feed here because it was just me and Gino Ganello for the GA position. And of course, it's funny because obviously Gino and I were super close at the time by then too. So it was like, we were like, you know, who cares? Who gets it? Whatever. But I ended up getting it. And then they gave him like the department grad assistant job, which was great. That was a funny interview too, because I think I was in class, honestly, and Kara came down, said, hey, like Thorne and Paps are here. They're not here very often. Like, do you mind interviewing right now? And I was like, sure, I guess I'll interview right now. And I did. And, you know, that was kind of, I had Paps before too, I think, for his undergrad class. But again, you know, I wasn't really that, like, I guess, vocal in class as much. But he knew me. So it was him, Miller, Kara, and Thorne in the interview. I must have done well enough, you know. Again, they knew me, so that was huge because if I didn't get that, I definitely would not have done SEM. You know, I wasn't going to really be able to pay for that on my own. So, but that was an absolute godsend. And then I was like, this was June, by the way. Like, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I got to find a house if I do get this job. Like, and then thankfully, just everything kind of worked out. I got the job. I think the next day, like one of my old buddies who ended up doing grad school was like, hey, we have an extra room. Took that. I was like, Jesus, like this is great. I gotta take that. So yeah, it was a dope little house in Fairfield too. So, and then that was like the first time that year I like kind of like took a nice little sigh of relief. Of 2 more years of grad school, more experience, make more connections, and we can kind of see where this goes.
It's funny you mentioned Gino. Obviously, Gino was our last episode of season 2.
Watch.
So okay.
He's oh my god, Gino's. I love Gino so much.
I happened to run into him actually last year at MLS All-Star.
Oh, nice.
Like, walking on the field, and I look, and I'm like, I know that dude. And I'm like, it's Gino. And it's just like one of the things, you know, like as you talk about the connections you make here and the people you meet, it's like Gino and I, obviously, you know, I'm older than you guys, so I didn't, you know, we didn't have classes together.
Right.
I always knew of you guys, like Thorne and Miller would always say, oh, you know, you got to check out these young guys. These young guys are really doing it. Like, they were always saying, like, you know, and they probably said it to you too, PG, is like there are always those students in every grade that stand out above their peers. All of their peers will go on and have great careers, but there are certain guys where it's like, oh no, they've got it. And I always remember my first introduction to you guys was like, oh, you got to go meet Tony, you got to go meet Gino. Like, these guys have it. You know, so it's like cool to now see the progression of where you guys are at now, which leads me into my next question. Obviously, I know you guys are you're involved in Downtime TV. you guys are doing your thing over there. I mentioned, interviewers interviewing people. Can you tell the people who aren't familiar with Downtime and all the things that you all are working with over there?
Yeah, sure. So, Downtime TV started in this very room, actually. Mike Theophil started a podcast called The Buzz. This was my second year, right? So he was, the 1 year was my second year. So it was him, and I wasn't really that much a part of it. Again, it was sort of the same deal where he would come help, set up whatever. But it was him and a few other students in the program that started it. And then after I graduated, I had a job at LB Network, but he kept up with it here, which was great because he kind of started getting some notoriety, I guess, around the area because they started doing their vlogs, interviewing, going events and local Fairfield stuff, obviously doing their podcast as well. And he always kept up with me, like sent me some stuff. We always chatted on the side, whatever. So when it came my time to be here, I knew he would be a great person to work with and obviously bring a lot of opportunity to me, and I would be able to reciprocate that. So basically what Downtime TV is kind of a one-stop hub for, sports, movies, vlogs, skits, stuff like that. We kind of like the whole idea is that you can go there and there's a little bit of something for everyone. And then we also have our polished up, outsourced Uptime Productions company as well. That's more so like commercial work, social media management, content producing, stuff like that. So again, kind of bringing a little bit of everything we can to clients. We have podcast clients as well that come into our studio. So again, like a one-stop shop for anything media.
I mean, it's funny. I mentioned that ran into Gino in the field. Haven't run into you in the field as well. What was that? 2024. I want to say it was actually my second week of my current job. And I was at an event for Connecticut United new soccer team.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All of a sudden, I see you. I didn't realize that you all were shooting out of that studio. So
yeah.
It's dope to see and running the folks in the field. So
yeah, of course. Yeah, going back to what you said, I mean, I would say probably one of the best pieces of advice that Paps had given me was he did the classic first day of class, look to your right, look to your left. Yeah. Like these people are could be your boss one day. These are gonna be the best connections you have. Yeah. And I mean that is obviously coming from Paps. The guy knows, but at the time you're like, oh yeah. Sure, but that stays true. It literally stays true to the test of time. In every sense of the word too. Even going back to Kara, she works for Bravo. She's tossed me some freelance gigs because she knows what I could do. She's like, oh, there's a gig in the area. You want it? Take it. Sure. So it's again invaluable to have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With Downtime, well, one, it was dope. Actually, I just discovered recently that it was you had Uptime too, and I was like, yeah, that's creative. Obviously play on words. Yeah. But and I know you guys do a lot of nostalgia and retro stuff, and I know but you guys have been doing that for years. But now that space has grew a lot in general. So how is that? How have you seen it like that?
I mean, kind of like what you just said. I mean, I've seen the growth of it, immensely. It's pretty interesting. I mean, you can get into a lot of different topics around it. But obviously for us, for Mike's, a little bit older than me, so he kind of experienced more of the 90s than I did. I was born in 95, but still, had the late 90s, early 2000s. So obviously all of that nostalgia does hit, and it kind of is interesting because at that time, you kind of don't even realize, but I mean, that entire generation is also growing up with you. Yeah. So if you advertise or promote that nostalgia, I mean, that entire generation you're going to hit. Right. And then you can also get into, I mean, whole physical media and stuff making a comeback. People kind of getting tired of the whole I have Netflix, but you're kind of taking movies off that I want and I don't own anything sort of deal. Same thing with the whole gaming industry as well. Everything is about streaming, and you don't really have control over what you have, on those platforms necessarily. Whereas if I have a physical DVD of Gladiator, I can watch it whenever I want. And that's it.
Yeah. So, no, it's crazy too, even with the networks, obviously with all the apps, and it's you gotta buy this one to watch this and buy this and watch this. That's why it's going back. It's reverse. Obviously cable had everything, and you had to buy pay-per-view stuff, but now it's all the apps, and then it's like a whole cycle of going
the pendulum swings, and it's again, you have these streaming programs that are packaging programs, and you're like, that's what cable is.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what I was paying cable.
Everything comes back in style.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously. Tony, we can sit here and talk to you forever, but we want to make sure before we get out of here that we get into our favorite segment.
Fun Shoe.
Here we go.
Fun Shoe. You like the name?
Yeah.
See?
You don't have
Tony.
Aaron
doesn't like the name.
Really? Well, what's Fun Shoe? Is it just
the part where we ask more fun questions about what you did, more of a rapid fire type of thing? But
I like that.
I figure you guys are creative. You guys have the downtime and uptime. Great wordsmith. Fun shoe
is good.
I guess kind of maybe it sounds like a bad Chinese food dish or something. The feng shui, is that special today?
I like that. We're gonna leave that. We'll leave with that one.
All right. So, what was your favorite dorm living on campus?
Oh my gosh, I guess it was Oakwood, sophomore year.
Right.
Oakwood, off the beaten path.
Yes.
Very underrated. Very underrated.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
All right. What was your favorite meal on campus?
Oh, it's tough. I guess I guess it's like the 5-piece fries, your classic Linda's sort of deal. I mean, we didn't have much. I guess maybe if I'm at like 63s, you go to the omelet station in the early morning. Okay.
Yeah.
If they're nice to you, you get like 2 sunny side up eggs, fresh with some sausage. Like that's always good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about? All right. So since you're a 2-time alum, give us 2 of your favorite professors.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Oh wow, dude! Some people are gonna get real angry, huh? I mean, I guess you got to throw Thorne in there. How could you not? Oh, man, and I guess I mentioned Russo so much. He kind of started me on that direction. That nice path for studio production. So I'll toss in Gary Russo for sure.
Right.
But there could be any of them. Could be any of them.
When Miller when Miller doesn't get a point, it's all good.
Tony, one question for you.
Yeah.
All right, this is a tough one, but you're gonna have to answer it with the first day that comes to mind. If you could go into a time machine right now and relive one of your days from your undergraduate years or your grad school days, what day are you picking?
Oh, wow, it's tough. One day, I mean, the first is it cool if it's like about a party or something?
Of course,
Okay, all right. So
Off-campus style.
I mentioned I lived at a house off Old Town Road. My senior year, we hosted a Kentucky Derby party.
Oh, dope.
And that was awesome. Daytime. Everyone was dressed up super nice because it's the Kentucky Derby, the mint juleps, like you're watching the Derby, it's some money on the horses, dude. Yeah, big darty, fire in the backyard, drinking. And again, you're senior, you got all your best friends around you. That was by far probably the best party I've been to. Yeah. Suits.
Nice.
Well, not suits, but
mint julep?
mint juleps. I had the boat shoes on, the slacks,
There you go.
blazer over the button down. Yeah, no, this is like we were there. We were there. Okay. Yeah.
Wait, I got some. Since you guys do the nostalgia, like, what's your favorite 90s movie?
Oh my gosh, that's so tough. I mean, my favorite movie of all time, 1995, Pulp Fiction.
All right.
That is by far. I can quote that movie at any point of my life. I feel.
All right.
Can't quote anything here.
What about 90s song?
90s song. Oh, it's tough. I guess if I had to pick one, I mean, I guess maybe you're doing like some type of Green Day, maybe She by Green Day.
All right.
On the Dookie album. All right. Tossing it back a little bit.
Like
All right. All right. Last one. Favorite 90s video game?
I guess you gotta go like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. N64 back in the day. Hours on that game. Yeah.
No,
I've been playing Pokemon. I've been going.
Pokemon
Red.
Hell yeah, dude. Do you have you have the Switch?
Yeah,
or you?
Switch,
Same.
I'm
dude.
a big Nintendo guy.
Oh yeah, honestly, same. I've been playing Pokemon Legends ZA recently. Next gen stuff. It's great, but so they rehashed Red and Green.
I was just like, I'm just gonna play it because just nostalgia.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, classic. I love Pokemon.
I was literally because I grew up like a big baseball fan. The World Baseball Classic was on. I haven't been watching regular baseball, but I watched that, and I was playing Pokemon. I was like, I feel like I'm 12.
Yeah, no, it's great, right? Yeah. If only we still were,
That's old heads.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Tony, it's been a pleasure. We appreciate you, and all all the time that you decided to give us today.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure, guys. Really, this is great.
Yeah,
I love what you guys are doing here. I mean, this is exactly. I'm sure Miller is like frothing at the mouth at something like this. This is exactly what he wants. Giving alumni a nice platform to hopefully inspire some young pioneers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they got to come check you out. Come check out Downtime, Uptime.
Oh yeah,
come see Tony. He'll give you bowling lessons.
Yeah.
You want to get smoke.
You don't want the smoke, okay? You do not.
Well, this has been another episode of What You Doing. We appreciate you all. We'll see you next time.